Good morning, Brandon Wright.
Ahoy there. How are you?
Ahoy. Do we have to talk nautical now?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, everything's in puns here at Barnacle.
I'll shiver my timbers. It's been a while, man. It's been a few months.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and I certainly appreciated your feedback from our last meeting, and I've got lots of great news to provide in response to it. Since, yeah, I can just jump right into it if you'd like.
Well, you know what? We go back a ways. You and I first met because I was doing a bit of coaching at Viatech, the local incubator accelerator here in Victoria, and I think you were interested in crafting a better presentation.
That's right.
Okay, and that's how we met. And then I got you to join up on Brand DIY, and you came on the Entrepreneur's Hot Seat. And I think it was right when we started, like this summer or something like that.
That's right. Yeah, I think I was like number 2 or number 3.
Yeah, very brave man.
Yeah.
And talk to me just a little bit about what the problems were, the challenges were that we went through at the time, because I mean, Barnacle's a very young company and you had some very specific challenges. Let's go through those.
Yeah, absolutely. So the challenge that we were encountering was just building confidence in the market. So for us, we're in a very competitive IoT space in boating, where it's hardware that you place on a boat. You want to check in from your smartphone, tablet, or computer. And what we were learning is that the 800-pound gorillas or the 8,000-pound gorillas were coming in and building competing products that were just failing in the field. And so these competitive products that were basically just destroying the remote monitoring market were not only hurting those companies, but then hurting the market as a whole. So people just weren't trusting remote monitoring products. So I came to the hot seat just asking, how do we overcome this? And we had some solutions that we'd been working on, where we'd worked with the Coast Guard and worked with the Navy to build credibility in the market, to say that if it works with the Coast Guard, it should work for you. But then you provided advice that we just need to reach out to our existing customers and just get them to scream our praises, basically. And the response from that's just been tremendous, and happy to get into numbers and percentages and stuff like that. But that's the history that you and I have so far.
Yeah. Now, you know what? It's really funny because this goes back to something that it's always been the case, but it's even more so now because of technology. It's getting way too easy for us to sit there with our headphones on and use technology to reach out to people that we've never met, masses of people, and we're deceived. I mean, you and I talked about this before the call. You and I talked about, I mean, I've got 5,000 plus people that follow me on LinkedIn. I've got probably the same number on Twitter. None of those people is going to help me on moving day. Nobody's going to pull up a truck and help me move my stuff. But we're deceived thinking that, oh, I've got all these people that I influence. No, you don't. And it's so easy to just keep throwing crap out, like Gary Vaynerchuk talks, 60 pieces of content a day, but you don't got anything to say once a day. So 60 times that, you're just going to look like such an asshole.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I found that prior to our conversation that I felt as if we were just a corporate entity yelling at people to say, this is what we're doing, this is how we can help you and all this. But really what it's turned out is that having more personalized conversations and building personal relationships with each and every customer, and more softly nudging them like, hey, if we've helped you, how about you help us by recommending some friends, or just sharing it on your social media or something like that, and spreading awareness that way. And it's just been tremendous how well that's worked. And like the Gary Vaynerchuk, where they're just spewing stuff at you, and like you mentioned before, it's just that annoying person at the party that won't shut up. We've definitely pivoted how we communicate with our customers.
You know what's so weird about this is I because I have this problem every single day in my own business, and everybody that I talk to, they all have the same problem. They say, well, we're going to do outreach and newsletters, and we're going to do Facebook ads and this ad and remarketing and all that stuff. And I'm just like, do you have any customers? And they go, yeah. Have you ever talked to them? No. And it's really weird. It's hard. It's like a first date. It's kind of weird, but once you actually do it, you feel proud of yourself
Yeah.
for actually having talked to somebody because they're so grateful. I don't know if you found that, but people,
Oh yeah.
if you actually talk to them, they're so grateful that you picked up the phone. Why? Nobody does that.
Yeah, absolutely. And for us too, I mean, we don't really get tech support calls. Thankfully, we've got a very stable product. So like the conversations that we generally have with people are very positive, and it's usually them reaching out to say that like something's helped them on their boat, like we've saved their battery bank from dying or whatever that may be. But we don't just stop with that conversation. We'd really like to learn more about their boat, like how long have you had it? What's your travel plans? Do you stay local? Do you like to go down to the United States? Or if you're in Europe, are you trying to cross the Atlantic or whatever the thing may be? But it's so nice to understand their history. Our customers have such amazing backstories because they're usually generally more affluent, and they've usually owned a business or have investments or whatever. So they have a really interesting story of success. And it's been neat because they are generally interested in our story as well, being a startup. And it's kind of like looking in their past and how they've grown, and they're trying to help us succeed as kind of the young guns in the market as well too. So yeah, just building those personal relationships has been really rewarding, and in turn just help the business as well too. So it's just kind of a win-win.
You're gonna raise your Series A round. You're gonna raise
Yeah.
your next round of investment with just your customers.
Yeah, well, we're just bootstrapped, so our customers are our investors right now.
That's
we have
hilarious. Because I could see that conversation turning very quickly. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I love your guys' stuff. So
it's happened a number of times.
I bet it has.
Yeah.
I bet it has. Now, the conversation, because we're all shy, and that's why the guys who are writing all those books about first dates and reaching out to other people, they sell billions of books because we're all so insecure. Was there any special technique that you used when you reached out, or did you just call up and say, "Hey, I'm Brandon"?
Yeah, you know what? I don't have that nervousness about cold calling. So it was pretty easy to reach out to these folks. And we do it with like influencers that have millions of followers as well, where it's just like, if we can find a phone number, we're on it. If we can send them an Instagram message or whatever without being pushy, it's more just like an introduction of, hey, like we're this and we do that. And we've got a family as well. And we try and relate to them personally. But it's a lot of just just kind of sucking it up and going for it, but not doing it in a salesy way. It's very, very much in a how's it going, and I've got a young family, I see that you have a young family type of relationship. So yeah.
Do you also, when you get them on the phone, it would seem to me like an amazing opportunity to say, so is there anything that it's not doing right?
Yeah.
Or is there anything that we could do better? Or is there anything that you would build if you were building a better version?
Absolutely. Yeah. My background's as a product manager. So for me, every call is a survey and I want to try and weed out things that they're not happy with, even if they're the happiest people in the world, just understanding what new features they'd like. And then as soon as we get their feedback, we try and update them whenever we actually implement what they've asked, so that they feel like they've actually participated in the development of the product. So we're launching an app update hopefully in the next couple of days that incorporates some feedback that we got last week. So it's very simple. It's something easy that we can do. And that customer now is a big customer of ours. They're a fleet, but I know that they're going to feel really proud to say, like, that was my request that resulted in that app update that now thousands of people around the world use.
That is one of the things I talk about. There's 3 stages of talking to customers. The first one is, what do you think of this thing? Like 3 stages of research. What do you think of this thing? What do you think about the world in general? What do you think about the competition? Then the second, and what would you fix? The second one is, look, we fixed it. And is there anything else to fix? And then the third one is, okay, now we've done all this stuff. Basically, it's your idea. You invented this.
Yeah.
Will you tell your 5,000 closest friends that you invented this? Because now they're part of your company.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's amazing how well that worked. Like one example was an individual that we had our GPS coordinates as decimal degrees, but they like degrees, minutes, seconds. So we implemented that within a couple of days, pushed it live to the app store. And then immediately they're just talking about how well we are receptive to feedback and how we grow and this and that. And that person referred at least a handful of people to us, which generated another 5 or 6 grand in revenue. So and they're simple things. Like it takes us a half an hour to add that feature and maybe a couple hours to generate the new app update, and it just generated X amount of revenue. So it works. It definitely works.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so now, how do you get started? Because everybody here, if they're doing a good job, they're passionate about their job, they've got some customers, and I can bet you dollars to donuts that they haven't talked to any of them and they haven't leveraged them. So how do you actually start? Did you just go through the phone list of people who have bought your stuff and just start at A?
That was it. Yeah, totally. Start at the top. And then there's some customers that are more vocal. We've got our buyer personas and our customer personas, where we've got like the Uber nerds that want to have nerd fights every couple of days, where it's like, oh, it needs to be this many decimal places. So I actually started with those people, because if we can sell them on the product, I'm sure that their friends know that that's a major nerd, that if that person likes it, then I will probably like it, because they know that person vets products and they're hard on products. So we try and win over the toughest customers first and have them as our brand ambassadors. And then we just kind of move down to people that are more and more quiet to see how things are going. Sometimes we run into people where it's like, oh, I've actually had a question and I just haven't thought to reach out. And so we're actually kind of nipping some problems at the bud, where it's like, oh, you just don't have this setting set properly on the system. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, thanks so much for reaching out and helping me. And they didn't have to ask us for anything. So, but it is just going through the list, but we have a priority system where complicated customers first, because we know that if we win them, we're at the top, and then the less complicated customers after that.
Yeah, it was so revealing to me. I got my start when I was a kid, literally 14 years old. I was working my dad's TV store, selling TVs back when there were still small TV stores.
Yeah.
Back before electricity.
With the vacuum tubes.
There was only two sizes, right? There was only 20-inch and 30-inch TVs. That's all there was. Back, we used different language, and we rode on those bicycles with the big front wheels.
Yeah.
But I remember, and I was about 18 years old, and I said to my dad, listen, I got all these invoices we write for people for service. Have you ever talked to any of them after the service? No. And it was this big stack of paper. I said, you know what? I'm bored this Saturday. I got nothing to do. And I just started calling them. And it was some of them, it was like, who the hell are you? And I go, I'm just a guy at the TV store. How you doing? And they're like, it was the best thing that happened to them all day. It was uncanny what the responses were. Even if they had complaints, they were just like, I can't believe you're actually talking to me.
Yep, absolutely. And knowing that it comes right from the source too. Like for us, like sometimes most of the time it's me calling, and it's like, oh, I've got the CEO on the line, where if I tell him something, it's likely going to actually happen. And even when it's our director of sales calling, all that, like our director of engineering, like you're talking right to the people that can make decisions. They may not know that there's only like 9 of us in the entire company, but it's at least whatever. They're talking to people that make decisions and make changes.
Yeah. And I think the big thing too is everybody's had that phone call from the call center in the Philippines, and they go through, you can tell they're going through the checklist. And it always ends with, if you've been very happy with this customer service, would you like to fill out this survey? But that's what happens. People try to scale everything. Scale is the new religion. And so they try to scale customer service. And you go, if you did just one call to one person, they would tell 5,000 people, would be way better than making 5,000 calls from your call center.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it was, I think it's Zappos, where they say that they're a customer service company that sells shoes. And we've been living and breathing that at Barnacle. We're a customer service company that protects boats. So at the end of the day, it's just building those personal relationships, which we realized we weren't doing as well until the hot seat with you. And it just kind of reinvigorated that we needed to refocus on that. And since then, I mean, our revenue.
Yeah, let's talk numbers. I didn't want to talk numbers at the beginning because I want to tease people. The numbers have been pretty nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. So this week, we may have just done it in the past day or two, but we're going to celebrate next week. But we've done our first million, which we're really excited about. So Yeah, it's going to be interesting to figure out how we can share Macallan 18 across the team, but we'll figure that out in another conversation. But yeah, since August, essentially, about 60% of that has appeared. So we weren't expecting to reach the goals that we have, and we've already exceeded our goals. Well, the year's almost over, but we're well exceeded our goals for the year. Even when we had the month of June where like we had the thought like, this is how we die kind of conversation. And that was about when we had our talk. Cause it's like, I didn't really bring it up, but it was one of those, like, we need help, like for real kind of help. And yeah, so since then our growth has just been exponential. It's just the hockey stick that you see on the stupid Silicon Valley charts that.
And I think it's super important for people, because our first reaction is always, yeah, but you know, he was selling COVID vaccine. Of course he's doing good. You're not. You're selling stuff that is evergreen. If it's selling, it would be selling before COVID, after COVID, during COVID.
Exactly.
In fact, I mean, it is a security thing. So it's like buying insurance, but if people were doing without it before, they don't necessarily have to buy it now.
Yep. No, it's definitely not. It's not one of those products that has been like the boating market itself has been positively affected by COVID, which has been bizarre because people are buying recreational stuff. But we were having issues with that because boats were selling so fast that they were just putting in like the chart plotter, which is the map on the boat, and an engine, and getting it out the door as fast as possible. There was no time to put our system on board. So this was still like grinding it out, talking to people. And like I said, what we were doing before was just shouting. We were very loud on social media, which had people knowing us, but it was when people would say, hey, my friend Phil and my buddy Brian and my friend Linda all have your system, and they've all told me about it. Not because I've asked, but because they're telling me about it. That's when people have been buying, and that ramp up has been happening. It happened very quickly after our conversation. Like right when we started, it was immediate.
I got a real specific question. If I want to leave you a recommendation, or if you're getting recommendations and people are shouting from the rooftops, is there any place that they should be shouting? Like if I'm an entrepreneur, where would you recommend I steer people? If you love me, call 5 friends, or if you love me, leave me a review, or if you love me, what do you want? What do you get?
So we've tried a couple things. We've asked for the Google reviews, which we've only got a few of them, but each one's been really tremendous. But the most effective has been Facebook, where it's just share a screenshot of your app on Facebook, because it shows basically all the things that you can protect on your boat. And then they provide a testimonial of their own thing, of their own use case that we then can share on our website, or we reshare it on Facebook. But the demographic that we deal with the most is primarily on Facebook, it turned out. So, yeah.
And do you actually ask them to call their friends too, or do you know anybody?
For sure.
So like for real, just here, let me write that phone number down and go on Facebook. 2 things you can do for
exactly. And that's exactly right. And the Facebook one's been really easy to track. Obviously the phone call one, it's funny, we'll get orders and then we'll find out like weeks later that, oh, it was because my friend called me. It's like, oh, okay. Like we don't have like a checkbox that says how I learned about your product. So it might be something interesting to add for metrics, but it's been funny because it's been after the purchase that we find, because we're doing these calls to these new customers, that we find out like, oh, I found out about you from so-and-so. And it's like, oh, that customer has been a customer for 2 years now, or for whatever. And we talked to them 3 months ago. So you can see where it's coming from, but it's not immediate that we find out where it's come from.
Now, a lot of people doing that, they would say, oh, you know what you should do is you should throw in sort of like an affiliate program where if you recommend a friend, then he gets something off and you get something off, or you get one more year on the warranty or something. Is that something that's crossed your mind, or do you think that would be kind of like makes them look like they're grubbing for dough?
Yeah. So it's funny, we have a range of people where we will offer it to some folks where we know that like money's a little bit tighter, but it's usually when someone asks like, can I do a referral? Because it's very manual. We don't have an infrastructure for affiliates in place. So we can add a credit to their sell plan just by going online and adding $20 or $50 or whatever, and it's no problem. But yeah, we don't offer it. And it's only if someone really pushes for it, like, yeah, I'm going to refer some friends. Like, is there any kickback I can get? And it's like, yeah, sure. So, but it's a manual process, but people are doing it without any incentive right now.
To me, it would seem, you know, it would be super cool. I've gotten this before where I help an organization out, and then 2 weeks later in the mail, I get a thing with a coffee card. I'm like, you won't believe this. Somebody wrote with a pen on a card and they sent me a Starbucks thing for $10. It was like Christmas. But the fact that it came as a surprise was
absolutely
everything.
Yeah, we've actually got our own custom cards, Barnacle custom cards that we send out to folks. So customers and dealers and influencers and stuff like that. But yeah, the handwritten card is extremely important for our business, especially this time of year.
Super old school.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Super old school.
Just warm up the hand before you write all the cards.
Exactly, yeah. It's like writing 500 Christmas cards.
Exactly.
But yeah, you know, a friend of mine, Joe Girard, he's a sales guy, and he said, you know, I always tell people who are selling, you know, they say, well, I'm rattling off 100 people a day. And he goes, why? You know, do 10 and do a little more research and make them feel like you actually give a shit and that you know them a little. It's way more productive. Do 1/10 the work, but do it better. So you write a card, but you actually write a little bit in it. And
Oh yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. No. And we, usually in our CRM, the notes that I take aren't around like, oh, they've got like this desire, this need. It's usually like notes about, you've got 3 kids, this is your occupation, these are the things that you like to do, and you're a sailor versus a powerboater. So I've done that throughout my entire career, to be honest, even prior to Barnacle, but just building more personal characteristics of the customer or the person that I'm working with, because I'd rather be working with people that I'd want to go out for a beer with and hang out on a weekend with. And even the toughest nuts out there, you can find things that you share in common, and it's nice to bring those up whenever you have a future conversation as well too.
Love it. Now let's bring it into the home stretch here. You got $1 million to make. So I want you to, you know, you're talking now to a whole group, 500 people in this group, entrepreneurs. They're all in the same situation as you. Advice that you give them: 3 things to do, 2 things to do.
Oh man.
No concrete.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, the first one is just call your existing customers, just like the advice that you provided us, because that growth that we've experienced since then has been shocking. And ask them questions and find out things that they like and that they don't like. And then at the end, as you suggested too, is just ask them for referrals. And it works. Like once they build a personal relationship with you, they want to help you. They're not there to scare you. They're not bad people. They're there to help you grow, especially if they like the product. And then, the only other piece of advice that's been tremendous for us is just leveraging new influencers. Like our customers are our greatest influencers for sure. But then our YouTube influencers, like we had about 2,000 hits on our website yesterday just from Facebook because an influencer posted about us. So it's just a tremendous marketing channel that, it's helped us tremendously, and they produce content that you can reshare, and it lives forever. So that'd be the only other piece of advice I'd have that's outside of the original advice that you provided us.
And these are the guys who are unboxing your kit. And these are the guys who are nerding out and typing stuff into it and filming everything. They're those guys, the ones who fix their washing machine and film themselves doing it.
Yeah. And for us, we have a very specific market where like it's these adventure bloggers that are sailing around the world on their sailboat, and they're showing the value of how the systems help them. Like the install part's like the first 5 minutes of the video, and it's got funny music and it's fast forwarded. And then the last part is like, I'm on a hike and here's my boat. And so they just provide the value, and we don't provide them a script. We don't tell them to do anything. We don't even ask for an install video. We say, here it is. We're not paying you to do this. We'll give you a kickback if you sell anything, but I don't know. We just kind of give them free reign, and it's worked very, very well.
That's awesome. You know what, you just made my day. It's such good news to keep putting stuff out there, and it works because you've seen it work, but to actually have somebody come back and say, I want to talk about how this stuff worked is just such a huge boost. So you just made my day.
Yeah. Well, you made our year, so I appreciate it.
I love it. All right, Brandon, you take care of yourself, and let me know next week when you hit the 1 million. We'll pull a little note on Brand DIY.
Absolutely. Oh, I appreciate it. I will, for sure.
All right. Rock on. Talk to you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.